And we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 130 of the Fans of Power podcast. I'm Tyler Baker, and with me, as always, is the Rotten Amato, Joe Amato. Joe, how the hell are you today?
I'm fantastic. How you doing, T-Rex, on your vacation where you're coming via what, California or wherever you're at? I don't even know.
No, not quite California. Holden Beach, North Carolina, and the ocean's like right over here. I can smell the sea, like the salty air. I smell that right now as I'm sitting out here. You
And I
got
can
cars.
hear the air. I can actually hear the air from out there.
Yeah, we got cars passing by on the street here. There's sand on the sidewalk and stuff. So yes, I'm probably in the most beachy atmosphere for the podcast. So I'm pretty cool to be. I figured I could do it inside, but you know what? I'm at the beach. I might as well be doing this outside.
All right, man. Well, I'm hoping you're having an awesome time. I know you're still going to be doing your vacation for almost another 5 days, 6 days. So hopefully you have a freaking blast. But
Yeah.
well, first let me say hello to everyone in the chat room. We have Zentron, Eric Amon, Jeff Prime, JSP. We have hey, we got Beyond Retro here too, and we got Third Triumvirate Studios. So thank you all for joining us.
Awesome. Glad to have everybody there. Thanks for turning in to check out what we have to say this evening.
Yes, yes. So we got a couple topics, but we're gonna have to talk about something recent that's cool as hell. It's like every time we say it, just when you think you've seen it all, you haven't seen it all. Always something new pops up. So who pops up with something? Of course, James Etok, our buddy James. This man, I don't know how. I mean, how he acquires this stuff is mind-boggling. But I know he's been doing it for years, obviously, because he's the one that if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have seen the Filmation Bible, wouldn't have seen the Hero Son of He-Man series Bible, and now he showed a picture. It's called Hero and the Land of Legend, and this was apparently it was going to be. It's an unproduced 1987 Filmation cartoon, and had strong connection to the Mattel's Powers of Grayskull toy line. But he's been just doing these feeding and tidbits, and this stuff amazed me. First, let me just say something about him. You got to think about in a way for collectors in general. It's like fate in a way. Sometimes I see it as fate and almost destiny that some people are meant to get this stuff. Because picture if it wasn't James that ever acquired any of this stuff in his non-stop pursuit to acquire as much Filmation stuff and give us the history of everything. Picture if it just ended up either in a private person's collection that maybe loves Masters of the Universe, but maybe they don't go to websites, maybe they don't go to, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and kept the stuff for no one to ever see. Or for people that maybe just, hell, lost it, got burned, or gave it to their kids and they crumpled up the cells. It's like it was destined for him. And for him to not, like I said, if he was a private collector, keep it so no one could see, but to share it with us all. You got to be thankful that there's somebody like this, and it's just amazing the amount of stuff he has. And I just had to say thanks to him because this is just amazing. I'm sure you've seen it, and I don't know how many others have seen it, but it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's we have to thank James a lot for a lot of the information that's been put out to us, from all the videos he's put on his YouTube channel to the books that he's produced to help preserve the knowledge of both the He-Man and She-Ra series. I really couldn't picture anybody else that I'm glad if somebody's going to be taking care of all this information. James deserves it, and he likes to share it with everybody too. So that's why I'm really glad he continues to keep finding all these hidden artifacts and knowing, God Christ, to know that there was plans for a Hero animated series. It as if it wasn't a big punch in the stomach, knowing what we were going to get and we got cut short. Just how massive this push was going to be for this character, and I really want to know more about this. How in depth was this in production? I know James has come across a little bit of this information here, so I'm anxious to find out just how far into production this made, at least from story wise. All these tidbits. It just kind of makes you wonder. Was it all going to take place in the past? What we get to see the Powers of Grayskull kind of mini comic storyline kind of come to fruition in the animated series, where He-Man goes back to stop Skeletor, to kind of help set up the series. And then once that's done, okay, now Hero has his own show against King Hiss. And
could you imagine that in animated form to have that, the little crossover with He-Man? And, oh, God.
All the dinosaurs running around. That's something I want to know, too. I want to know if the dinosaurs were heavily used in this proposal that James
it's unreal. Like I said, I still can't. I've never ceased to be amazed about the amount of stuff that just constantly keeps popping up every time. Like you said, you think you've seen it all, you haven't seen anything. Something more comes, but it's again, it shows the character of the man to do that, to share the stuff, because like I said, he could kept it hidden for himself, and it was meant for him to get it, and obviously his love. Because his love for this, I mean, look what it's showing in when we're gonna have the return of Faker.
Yeah.
That you think about this, to use a type of genius mind to, as much as he knows about the cartoon and all the, what they've said in the episodes everybody's appeared in, but see, it's not like it's him and 100 people working at a studio and everybody's drawing out stuff and then somebody's doing voice, acting and getting this done quickly. It's just him and our buddy, Deucin. That's it. It's just those two doing this. And that two-man crew, that's a lot of love and a lot of time that's going into it. And to cleverly think of that also, to know all the episodes well enough to where you're taking the dialogue from certain episodes to create a new one. So you got to write a story and you got to think, what clever pieces of dialogue can I use to make it sound authentic? Because it's not like the voice actors are doing this for their episode. They got to use the voices that have been used in previous ones. I mean, that's just damn genius, but that's what I love, because he's given us that too. It's like the man does a lot for the community, and he's got to be praised and thanked for that.
Yeah, and it's a testament to just how much love and passion they put into this Faker cartoon, because it's, well, when we talk to James, you get an idea of just how much. I mean, yeah, it's just these two guys putting together every single bit of animation, recreating the transformation sequence, coming up with the right amounts of footage of, Prince Adam walking this way or He-Man running this way. And if you watch the cartoons, I mean, that's what makes it fun, is that they're doing just what Filmation did, just with all the voice acting along with the stock animation. So if you know the cartoon quite well, you can pick up on, you should be able to pick up on most of the stuff. Oh, I recognize that bit of dialogue. Oh, I recognize that too. And
right.
And it's just, you can't sit there and say, oh, well, how come it's not, new, no voice? Like, no, this is genius. It works perfectly.
Yes, and for them to, like you said, for them to redraw, which as Deucin's doing, is to redraw all of that. It's not like they're just taking the existing animation that was in a previous episode and just putting it on there. It's all being redrawn with new stuff. So that's what makes it cool. It's, slight additions, and just for it to, I mean, that's just so damn time consuming. I couldn't imagine one, let alone two people doing that and not having tons of people to help. That's so, because I know they said it'd be 2019, I believe, when it comes out. I'm sure I'll get definitely corrected here in the chat, but I think it was 2019 now.
Yeah, it's been pushed back quite a while, but you know what? It's well worth it, knowing these guys have got other things they do in their lives, and they're putting together this cartoon just on their own in their spare time. It's going to be well worth the wait. And I told James, I was like, I can't wait to see what the VHS covers are going to look like. I hope him will come up with something that's really reminiscent of the RCA Columbia House VHS boxes, where it's almost like a bit of a painting of the episode.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, not just a kind of a stock use, bit of animation. I mean, because the VHS covers sometimes they would use bits of the animation a little bit, but then some of them were kind of like paintings almost.
Yeah, didn't even the laser discs do that as well? Those laser discs where they did a painting style instead of just taking a picture from the Filmation cartoon and putting it on.
They essentially are using elements of the animation, but it looks more like a painting.
Yeah, a paint. Yeah,
but it's essentially that. But God, they were so epic looking.
Yeah, and the other thing that, like you said, would be a funny little genius nod to something is if on the back of it they show animation from something that's not even in the episode, like how you said you get some of your boxes like that wasn't in the cartoon. What the hell's going on?
That's why I'm hoping like James will sneak in like a cameo of Lizard Man somehow, like Lizard Man interacting with Cyclone.
Something that don't make sense, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but it's like this is what they did on those VHS releases. Not all of them, but a couple of them did that. And God, I would love to see Lizard Man just show up on the back talking to Cyclone or Boss.
How about even one to really freak fans out, because you know how we've heard of stuff of Black Star, which also Grimbot in the chat room has mentioned that he has stuff about Black Star as well. But what if there was like a side by side of Black Star and He-Man with their swords like looking like they're getting ready to engage with other people in battle? It's like, huh?
Yeah, that would be cool. Any of that stuff would be fine. Black Star, Brave Star. I think any of these heavy hitters from Filmation that we've often kind of fantasized about a big team up, that would be really cool. Or like a Shadow Skeletor, like conniving, and you've got Overlord standing in front of him, kind of like General Tataran and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
God, it's. I mean, especially they're going to do. I think James said they're going to do a Magic Window cover style, and then they're going to do the RCA Columbia House style with the black box with the red border, the red trim on it.
All right.
Much like what Super 7 did when they did their VHS release.
That'd be pretty cool. No, that's going to be cool. So it's going to be well worth the wait. So they're putting a lot of love into it, and we can't wait for that. But yeah, I had to bring that up with James Etalk, and as people were asking in the chat room, I know Grimbot was helping them out as well. So he'll help you, link you to where you need to go, and then even later I'll be posting, me on Facebook. I'll post some links and show you to the stuff James shown, because it was more than just here on the Land of Legend. There was other stuff he shown. It's pretty cool. A lot of concept. I think kind of like art that wasn't used from some things, but I think like who was that? I'm trying to think of. I think he said, was it? God, I went blank, and I hate going blank. I think it was Fred Carrillo, maybe Fred Carrillo.
Yeah,
because we know.
Did James give us the okay to share this? Because I remember, is all this all right to discuss?
I think they showed it on his wall. I think he showed that Fred Carrillo piece of him standing like this. I think he showed that. I'm trying to think if that's what he showed, but yeah. So there's a lot of great things that are to come. But well, beyond that, we have a couple different topics. We have like technology versus magic. If we have an idea of like what do you think's better, or our thoughts on that in Masters, and we'll discuss a book, and that's the Magic Mirrors as well. But I didn't know what you wanted to start off with first, or if you had any other recent news that maybe you were going to discuss.
Can't really say there's any recent news. I will say this is, if you are just now, I guess just one more plug for the PowerCon stuff. For the PowerCon exclusives of Chopper, Spikor, and Montor Drill, this is it. Like, as we're recording this is the last day to do this. So probably by the time that we put this thing up and get it advertised and everything, time may have run out. But if you haven't, drop what you're doing, come back and view us, and go get your three figures, or your one, or whichever many you want there. But other than that, no recent news. I'd say either we discussed Magic Mirrors, or our favorite vintage artwork, or any of those three. I'm ready to jump on either one.
All right, cool. No, definitely. Oh, and it was Deucin corrected me. It was Gerald Fortin that did the art. It looked like Fred Carrillo's style with some of the stuff he had.
Oh, maybe I misread what he said then.
Yeah, I know that there's a certain style that looks like Fred has. I was almost certain, but well, hey, either way, I guess if we start off, we could go right into our discussion of Magic Mirrors, which Fred Carrillo did. I think maybe that's why it was in my head, is because right in front of me I have the image of the Magic Mirrors by Jack C. Harris, illustrated by Fred Carrillo. So maybe that was in my head. But of course, the cover for that book, of course, Earl Norem with that beautiful piece of art. But this isn't. Not that I'm saying there's many of those Golden books were letdowns compared to the covers, but it is. Sometimes you look at the cover and you open the book and you're like, oh man, nothing ever looks like the cover. But this, it just has beautiful art and a real good story, and another one that features our buddy Fisto. But I guess I'll pass it to you and we can go back and forth on this story. But I like this story. It was clever, and I was like, man, this would have been fun to see in a cartoon episode.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I used to check this one out from my elementary school library a lot when I discovered the other batch of He-Man books. And my favorite part of it is the opening fight, which is a giant, 2-page splash of He-Man, or Battle Armor He-Man, Teela, Man-at-Arms, Ram Man, think that's it. Taking on Trapjaw, Cobra Khan, Whiplash, and Clawful and Beastman. On Fisto. Excuse me, Fisto.
Yeah, Fisto. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just was when I saw that because it featured, Clawful, which oh god was just one of my absolute favorites as a kid.
And that they portrayed Clawful to where he was having like a kind of an advantage on He-Man with his grip, like his claws. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it depicted everybody quite strong. It just looked like a really epic fight to start your story out with, and and as a kid, you're seeing all of these characters in the same fight. It was just one of the things you just didn't see it wasn't as available, so to speak, when you would see fights like this. So this was a big deal, and when they all get pretty much, I was going to say I forgot what it is. I think He-Man. They end up falling into this kind of big chasm, so to speak. I think caused by He-Man, I believe.
Well, Fisto, but no, like at the beginning, you're right. They're all battling, but they made it a point to say that the evil warriors started getting the upper hand. So that's when they told Fisto, smash that smash that rock. Yeah, that boom, he smashes and it knocks all the evil warriors down. Which of course, Skeletor, observing over his pool, gets pissed that of course they're failing them once again.
And that's when we see the next part of Skeletor's going to is his name Mota?
You know what's funny? What I like about it? It's close to a motto, but it's like Mata. Motta. It's like, hey, they're gonna go find, the Mata the Wizard over in that, that one place. I think they called it the Enchanted Mountain. Enchanted Mountain, yeah. So he's gonna go find Mata the Wizard at the Enchanted Mountain, but I'll pass back to you because it's just a cool build up to what they have to do.
Yeah, so when Skeletor gets there using the Roton, I like how they make a point that, they really do a good job of incorporating the current toy line at the time, which is fun. But using the Roton, him and Evil-Lyn break in and
make a new entrance, right? Don't they make a new entrance?
Yeah, since the entrance was not easily accessible, it makes his own entrance with it and decides to kind of use the mirrors to create a vision of him as Fisto. And he's going to go and befriend the heroic warriors to help them get up the mountain, only to try and set them up to fail and kill them all at the same time.
Yeah, because we kind of don't know that, because like when they come in, you're right, Skeletor makes it a point to tell Mata that he's been studying, about the mirrors and knows the stuff, but he knows something that even Mata doesn't know. Because, you're right, Mata shows them all the warriors, the heroic warriors, and saying, these are the people that are going to defeat you. But then Skeletor's explained, you don't have a clue because he steps into the mirror. It's like, what is he going to do? But, yeah, I'll pass it back.
Yeah, and then we're just led to this where He-Man and the heroic warriors show up, and they see Fisto has already met them there. Like, he's already there and helps guide them up the mountain. But he's constantly setting them up, to try and knock them off all at the same time as they're climbing up the vine.
But, like, inadvertently, you're doing it. Yeah, but...
So he's constantly trying to set them up as they're going up the mountain. His Fisto's leading the way there, and of course when I first read it too, I bought it. And I'm like, man, things are just not going right here with Fisto. And then when Skeletor shows up, he's like, I'm here to help you, and Fisto's like, no, you can't trust this guy. And sure enough, you find out that it's Skeletor in disguise, and that Fisto has been taken captive and being disguised as Battle Armor Skeletor. And it's
they switch places within the mirror. It's like a mirror image, so they switch places.
And then once He-Man breaks the spell, it was so odd to see Fisto in the Battle Armor outfit and Skeletor in Fisto's outfit. Like, they made a point to do all these details of not just, okay, Skeletor appears where Fisto's standing. Like, no, they draw you inside the cloak, the armor, and everything. Which it was a cool picture.
Yeah, because like Mata was telling He-Man at one point about, the reflections or reversed images, and that's when I think He-Man realized it wasn't. He first knew he was catching on that something was wrong. Like, like you said, Fisto first used a vine that he swung up there. He said, hey, it's strong enough, it'll hold all of us. And they're all going up this vine, and then coincidentally it snaps under Fisto to where all the heroic warriors fall. But then thank goodness He-Man shoves a sword into the rock to save them all. And then
that was such an epic illustration, especially poor Ram-Man at the very end of the vine. Like, I always felt like this poor guy, he's dangling around at the very bottom there. I always just felt so bad for him when I was a kid.
Yeah, it does. No, he did. He looked pitiful. And then as they're going up more, Fisto is, and the other thing you see is, in some illustrated books, you don't see his hand open. Sometimes you see it just closed, but like this is one where you'll see the Fisto's hand open, and he's like grabbing onto a rock that, of course, crumbles, causes another issue. But you're right, when they get to the top, then you see Skeletor standing there, and he's wanting to say, He-Man, I got to warn you of something. And of course, Fisto's like, he's a liar, and they bury him under some rock or something. But yeah, when finally He-Man realizes that, the things Fisto was doing was suspect, the one thing that really made him understand that it wasn't Fisto is he said he listened to what Mata said about the images being reversed and realized that Fisto's hand wasn't big on the right, it was big on the left. So he knew that had to be a mirror image and it wasn't the real Fisto.
It's a really fun story. I mean, most of the Golden books are pretty good, but anybody would say they felt that this was their favorite. I would never argue that because there's a lot of good ones. It's a good story. It's got a good cast of characters of heroes and villains. I mean, damn it, man, that cover art by Earl Norm, man, it's epic as hell. I mean, just Skeletor looking at the Hall of Mirrors with all the heroic warriors, looking just just ready to kick some ass. I mean, God, man, we were so lucky. He-Man fans were so lucky. And when you see people making jokes of He-Man, you just feel like, God, these people are so uneducated to know that this toy line was marketed to us as like this is the most macho man of all time. This is the epitome of being an action hero. Just by, the storybooks. I mean, they were the same thing as Conan paintings by Earl Norm and Ken Kelly and Joe Jusko and being obviously inspired by Frank Frazetta and stuff like that too. Man, to have that kind of stuff marketed towards kids at your local library or at your local Kmart where the children's books are sold next to all the coloring books, and you're seeing these beautiful painted covers of these major ass kickers. God, man, we were so lucky to have
Which, that's what we're going to lead into now. That was another one of our topics, is talking about some of the great artists from the past and some of our favorites, because like you said, we have not only Earl Norm, we had William George, we had Rudy Obrero, we had Gino D'Achille. I mean, there's so many that did some of, it seems like, yes, the painted pieces seem more epic, but I mean, just because some weren't painted, if there was ones that were cartoony looking, those were still just as great. But definitely at times some of those painted pieces were just very memorable. I mean, just the thought of you'd go into a Toys R Us, a KB Toys, whatever store it was at the time, and at times you didn't even have to purchase anything. You'd go into the aisle with the He-Man stuff, and there might have been just free promotional posters. Sometimes it was even at the checkouts. You'd go in if you bought something, and they'd say, "Here's your free poster." It's like, where the hell do you get stuff like this anymore? And for it to be these big epic pieces or ones that I love some of them. I mean, I love the one that I think William George did, where it was like He-Man's coming down, like it looks like a chasm on Bashosaurus, and it just looks so damn epic. I mean, there was ones with him and Dragon Walker. There's, of course, like I said, the big William George, the original first one with all the characters, on the side of Grayskull and Snake Mountain is memorable. But they did 3 others. But I'll pass to you. But you don't see stuff like that. Like you said, you don't see it no more. And this, I think we are lucky enough to be one of the properties that were not known just for the toys and the cartoon, but definitely by the art which made you pick up the castles, the vehicles, the figures, anything, and of course the stuff that graces us with the posters. But we were lucky enough to have some of the most memorable art for a toy line that I can think of.
Yeah, I know G.I. Joe had some beautiful paintings with their magazine back in the day. They had really, really cool posters, much like the He-Man magazine did. Transformers had some beautiful artwork too. But God, man, I think for me, just from childhood alone, there's some memorable box art, but Earl Norm's paintings, I think, once I had discovered, because I think the first one I had heard of was his one of He-Man fighting Blade in the big 87 movie painting.
Oh, yeah.
Describe it to me that someone he went to school with had the magazine and the poster, and when he was describing it to me, he's like, no, it's a painting of Dolph Lundgren's He-Man fighting Blade, and I'm just frozen, like hearing that. I never had heard of the magazine or anything like that. So early days of the internet, when you finally do see this stuff, you're like, oh my God, all these paintings. And just going on eBay looking for all the magazines so I could get those beautiful posters that were intact in those magazines that Earl Norm did. That Monstroid one of
Oh
Rising.
yeah.
I mean, and of course that's kind of the storyline is that this machine monster comes out of the ocean to do Hordak's bidding. But God Almighty, man! I've always been fascinated by like epic battle scenes in the water, like a hero taking on the giant monster in the water. That's why I like Clash of the Titans so much, fighting the Kraken and things like that. So with the Monstroid coming out of the water is like a giant Leviathan, and with the current roster of the '86 lineup of heroic warriors taking on, I mean, He-Man coming at him with the battle axe. God, man, it's one of those that you just sit and just stare at. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
Earl
Yeah,
didn't do a single like unenthusiastic painting for He-Man. There isn't one.
No, they all look epic, and that's the thing. You could look at these pieces of art and you get so engrossed staring at it and imagining the battles that are going on, you could just stare. It's like I can't think of things modern like that. They're even mentioning in the chat room now. They're just back and forth talking about like the stuff nowadays. It's nothing compared to what we had. It's like you're right. Why would you think that kids, as Grimbot was saying, why do you think kids wouldn't be engrossed by an amazing, beautiful piece of art? It's like, okay, the art for the box sets for the whether it's the figures, vehicles, castles, anything, it's what really attracted you to not only the piece that you're buying but made you play, but you still looked at it. It's like what's so memorable about like box art nowadays is like you look at it's nothing, you throw it to the side, you play with your vehicles, your figures, whatever, and maybe it just doesn't have that, it doesn't have that impact. It's like I've said it before and I'll say it again, like the 2000X line of figures.
Oh,
And first, I mean, it was the most uninspiring art for their cards of their figures. And on the back, it's just, oh, it's pictures of the figures. Nothing to them. No beautiful pieces of art drawn for the card backs. And then the vehicles. It's a damn photo of the vehicle on the box. It's like, this is horrible. Nothing made me want to say, I'm going to save these 2000X boxes. It's like, this is crap. But you bet your ass I'm going to save everything from the past because it's cool as hell. It's that memorable.
yeah, and I mean, what made it even more memorable is that you could really have some kind of oddball situation in some of these paintings. And going back to Earl Norman's, where you had He-Man and Skeletor fighting in outer space in an asteroid field.
But it worked. It still was epic.
Doesn't make any sense, but God, man, it was cool as hell. And He-Man riding a lion and Skeletor leading a herd of elephants in the heart of Africa. You don't, you know what? I don't need to be give an explanation as to why the hell they're in the middle of Africa. It looks badass, man.
It does. It does. Yeah, that's what I mean. You're right. Some of the things that would absolutely make no sense, but it looks so epic, you just didn't care. Like, I always like picking with you just a joke, lightheartedly, but like when you speak of that Monstroid piece, I always say, uh-oh, they're in the water fighting, and here comes Snout Spout on a vehicle shooting water. I'm like, oh, that's going to be effective, but you know what? It looks cool as hell.
It does. I mean, plus they're using the jet sled. All that we're missing was the Stilt Stalkers and the Mega Laser in that picture, man. I wish that worked in somehow. But I mean, all of Earl's posters from the Fright Zone to the fight in Pre-Eternia where you got Squeeze, Ninjor, and Snakeface taking on Clamp Champ and He-Man, and you get the Brontosaurus in the background. They're trying to rescue King Randor. The use of the scuba attack, the cliff climber, and the tower tools, and that post with Webstorm and Skeletor versus.
Oh hell yeah! Hell, the one where King Hiss was in his snake form in front of He-Man. Oh man, that's wicked.
That's a major favorite with fans too. Is that particular Snake Man poster, and I mean, of course, all those guys back then loved to do snakes because snakes were used so prominently in a lot of Conan paintings too. So when you see snakes being used in He-Man, it's going balls to the wall action, man, with just pure evil and just nothing but demonic images. And you're like, God, we all just ate it up.
No doubt, and it's like I always say this too. He made the Meteorbs, which are some of the oddball ones that a lot of people don't like. He made the Meteorbs look cool as hell. That's what's great. All 10 of them featured on that poster. And you know what's funny? It's a memorable one that people love a lot. It's even featured all the time on the Goldbergs. It's always in his room. Adam Goldberg, it's always hanging on his wall. That's still one of the posters that does not leave there. So it's like, he made those guys look cool. I miss it. I really miss that kind of art.
In the very first issue, you've got He-Man, Fisto, and Buzzoff taking a Webstor, Clawful, and Whiplash, where Fisto's smashing through that wall, and Buzzoff's got his Stinger Lance that was featured in the Filmation cartoon. He-Man riding Stridor charging through, like, son of a bitch, man. It's like, just, these guys were badass in action figure form into the cartoon, and here Earl Norm does, and just takes them up about 50 more notches of levels of. How do you do it, man? I mean, look at those guys. I mean, Clawful just absolute brute. Whiplash, just like his neck is really I mean, it's just all these wonderful details. And the Horde poster, arguably probably in the top 3 of Earl Norman's work of He-Man, is that beautiful Horde poster with Modulak holding his second head. And
I like that one, yeah.
a lot of Filmation nods in that. Oh, man. Earl Norman's work and William George with all the boxes, like the Slime Pit. And even though it's really simplistic, I guess because when I saw it, it left such an impression, was the Dragon Walker artwork on the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I saw it once at Toys R Us on clearance, and my parents said I couldn't have it. And I like to tell them about the things they did. I told my mom not too long ago about when we went to one of the toy stores at Valley View Mall, and that's when I saw the Jitsu Night Stalker 2-pack and seeing that beautiful box art and seeing the figures. And I was telling her the story and bit of how excited I was. And she said, well, did we get it for you? No. I said, I never saw it again. In fact, I saw some brat kid playing with the toys years later at school, and I almost wanted to walk over to him and say, hey, can I have those? So, no,
and it's like, and you're right, and people have become, it's like become a hunt, which makes some of the ones more valuable, like those special, 2-packs, like the one in back of me. I always talk about the Battle Armor Skeletor with the Land Shark 2-pack, unique art on that. But I think that's what's another thing that sets Masters apart from I've seen other things. I'm not saying it's not with other toy lines, but you know how they always talk about when you have a mint in box or a mint in package item, that the quality of the box definitely will increase or decrease the value of a piece. And at times from some toy lines, if there's certain dings in boxes, it'll jack it down almost as much as something being loose. But I've noticed, and as you have as well, and probably others, Masters is different, because since we acquire that art and love it so much, and some things are so rare, to see a piece, as we've seen, a box set with unique art, and if it might have a little damage on the corners and stuff, even if the art's in good condition, that stuff goes pretty damn high on eBay because people want these amazing pieces of art. So that's something I've noticed with Masters. It seems like it sets it apart with some toy lines, not all, is that even dinged up boxes, it doesn't matter because we want that damn art and that rare piece.
Yeah, and especially like the 2-packs, like you mentioned, or like the Manny Faces, like I think was it Panther Skeletor 2-pack. I think that one too.
Oh yeah, that's another one. I know the one you're talking about.
Manny Faces with the beast form. Going up against him, you've got the
Skeletor and Screech, Teela and Zoar. There's some cool ass stuff out there.
All those 2-packs now, and the Fisto Strider, which is another personal favorite of mine. I mean, all of that stuff. I mean, it's just knowing that artwork was just done just for that specific 2-pack and nothing else. That's what makes it even more special.
Yes, and hey, I want to say one quick thing because you know what's funny? JSP in the chat room brought up something where I was actually going to be leading up to another thing. He said he got that Rudy Obrero set that Super 7 sold at San Diego Comic-Con last year. He said, sweet. Well, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, not only, of course, Rudy Obrero, he's another amazing artist where, like you said, you could take some situations that you'd never think of and make it cool. And he did a special set, I believe it was for his daughter's basketball team or something, where it has He-Man dunking on Skeletor with Teela in the background, Evil Lyn, Beastman in the background, and this like basketball hoop is like a demonic looking thing.
Yeah.
Well, he's had a demand. I don't know how many he has left, but he's selling crystal clear, beautiful high-res prints of that. I think they're 21 by 15, so you're getting a damn good dimension of a big-ass poster. And you can contact him. He gave his email. It's obrerorude@mac.com. So it's OBREROUDE@mac.com. So it's obrerorude@mac.com. You contact him, send him a message, and he's selling these prints, and they are beautiful. But like, man, I was like, I've always loved basketball. Basketball was about my favorite sport, and to put He-Man with basketball, it's like that's some cool looking stuff. I know you've seen it.
Oh no! I saw it the day you posted it. I'm like, oh my god! Like putting He-Man and basketball together, and then we had that question from Brad about, hey, who would you put in the NBA playoffs with He-Man characters? Like, oh my god! I want to see more artwork of, Cyclone doing like a Penny Hardaway spin around Web Store, or something. reminiscent of like all kinds of great basketball plays, or seeing He-Man doing the Michael Jordan switch from one hand to the other, or have He-Man, or Clamp Champ leaping up and breaking the backboard like it just shattered like a Shaq dunk.
Heck, you could even have Blast Attack splitting apart, posting up on two different people or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Like he come like just two defenders. Like he sets a screen up, for Clawful to go through and just blows up and takes out like Man at Arms and Extendar at the same time with his screens. He said, now how awesome is that? You got a guy who can set two screens at the same time. Man. That is something you want in your team at all times, man.
Cool.
There's so much to be done about a basketball He-Man conversation, man. But yeah, that Rudy Obrero picture is absolutely stunning. I hope he would want to do more like different ones. Like even a group shot of Skeletor holding a basketball with his starting five lineup behind him, the bench, and just like I don't know, like a banner, or like a logo for his team or something.
Anything would be great. I mean, that's what I mean, because Rudy, I can't think of any others that do the amazing art like that anymore. I know many have passed on, many of the greats, but Rudy, he still does amazing art like this, and I can't think of any others that do this beautiful painted style and could still do it for Masters. I would still hope in some way there could be more stuff like this with that beautiful painted art. It's so memorable.
Yeah, and I refuse to believe that we were just a product of our time. That the marketing that was done in the '80s for all the toy lines, like as we all know, it was sink or swim. Everybody was fighting for their piece of the pie. Everyone's fighting for survival of getting things from Supernaturals and Rock Lords to Thundercats and Turtles and GI Joe. Everybody's fighting for the kids' attention, and I'm like, all this stuff that still could work if people were willing to actually just recreate the marketing that they did for us back then. Why wouldn't children, little boys and girls, not appreciate beautiful paintings to attract them to a toy line?
Right.
I fail to see that. Why they and I know it costs money to pay artists and do putting all these prints in production to get them out to kids and things like that. But you could do it digitally or something. I don't know. I just kind of feel like just simply to get the kids' attention, because it did for us. And
it did, and like you said, I mean, what's memorable is it's like the pieces felt alive. Whatever they were doing, it felt like there was life to it. It didn't feel like just flat, like somebody looking straight on at us, posing for a picture, or a group shot of like 5 people. It's like there was life, there was battles. Yeah, there's a story being told. Exactly. Not just like they're posing for their high school photos or a group photo for like the chess club. I mean, they're actually engaging in something. And that's what even makes them more memorable. It's like you said, they're doing something or a story is being told. That's why that's why we looked at them so much. We're wondering what's going on, and you could even have an adventure staring at a damn box for 10, 15 minutes before you go play with your figures.
I mean, hell, just like another favorite of mine is He-Man, Mossman, and Cyclone trying to assault the Fright Zone, and the Beast Monsters coming out of the side of the mountain. Now that was an interesting take too. Like it's not like a flat one. In the middle of this mountain, you got the Beast coming out at He-Man, and Cyclone and Mossman look like a couple of badasses just watching He-Man getting ready to kick the hell out of the Beast Monster with his power sword all lit up, radiating with power. I mean, it's just, oh man. I mean,
I'm sure if they did tests, like you said, I'm sure if they did some actual, how they like doing tests with kids to see what kids like, I guarantee if you put a beautiful painted piece of something with a flat, just nonsense, nothing, where there's no life to it picture of what they do with a lot of box art or other art, you give them the choice, I guarantee they're going to go with the one that's full of life. That's why it's just sad to see we don't see that anymore. And plus you wonder, is it cheaper just to cop out, do something quick or nonsense or nothing? It's like when we talked about posters for movies nowadays. Before we had beautiful pieces, that were painted. Even for comedies, when you think of National Lampoon's Vacation, they had beautiful pieces. Nowadays it's like, okay, they have a picture of the actor photoshopped on the poster. There you go, cheap as hell. You don't have to worry about nothing.
Yep, and that's why you won't catch me buying any movie posters anytime soon. I mean, they're just even the Marvel posters are very lazy looking. They're just slapping the actors' faces on there. Hell, they don't even show the actual superheroes on the poster. Everyone's got to have their face revealed instead of Tom Holland dressed as Spider-Man. No, got to have the mask off. Iron Man, no, mask off. Captain America, mask off. Everybody is just depicting themselves as almost like as if the people they want to see my face. They don't want to see Spider-Man. They don't want to see Iron Man. So it's just everything's uninspiring, and you just kind of feel like it just makes me feel that much more appreciative that we grew up in a time where you know what, marketing was not afraid to, you know, let's make these things look really cool, almost as if like, you know what would I be attracted to? What would grab my eye in a toy store or in a library or in the book section? And that's what these guys did. You almost felt all these guys grew up on Conan and Frank Frazetta. I mean, because there was so much stuff in the '80s, and not just He-Man, but from all the paintings and things like that. You just feel like these guys were really heavily inspired by a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
because you want to hear something. I mean, it's a quick little side rant of something, but it's just how things can catch your attention. It was, let's say, maybe 15 years ago. I was looking in a catalog of things you could order and came across the coolest knives you could think of. And you're like, Joe, why in the hell would you be talking about knives on a podcast? Well, here's the thing. These knives were dragons that when you opened up for the blade was a flame, but also in the picture in the center of the dragon is a beautiful painted piece of art from Boris Vallejo. And everyone had different ones. I was like, I want to collect these damn knives now. They look cool as hell because I love this art. It's, again, a one little simple thing telling the story, but I was like, this is so cool. So I can get beautiful art on a knife out of all things. And one day, maybe I'll show those on my Facebook page or even come live with a couple of these things to show. They're cool as hell.
well, yeah, and that's just a testament to good art and good marketing. And you know, you're always going to get my attention if you have a beautiful piece of artwork depicting something. I mean, for either whether it's giant great white sharks, you got dinosaurs. I mean, most of the stuff I would see it from dinosaurs was all paintings. I had like a series of books on every single dinosaur there was, at least up at that point. It had been documented and everything, and there were all these beautiful paintings, not just on the cover but throughout the book, of depicting the dinosaurs, of what kind of dinosaur they were, herbivore, carnivore, and things like that. Just, I mean, fascinating stuff. Or even like the Mars Attack stuff and the Dinosaurs Attack stuff. All those were beautiful paintings of vicious attacks on humans by dinosaurs and aliens, and you never forgot it because they just felt like, you know what, let's do something that we would want to see. I mean, the adults that are doing this, you kind of feel like, and that's all we want to do. We want to see, you know, what would inspire us, what would excite us, and that's what these guys have done. Like,
And it'd be great to give a new generation something. Like I said, don't lose faith in kids or don't believe they can't enjoy that. Give the new generation a chance to see. Will they enjoy it? And I guarantee they would love to see this stuff. It would sure make them probably want to collect things a little more if they're not busy with their iPads and their phones and their games. But if you want to try to grab their attention, yeah, definitely make something an attention getter, not just something that's forgettable. You want to suck them in. So I'd hope someday it could happen. Will it happen? I don't know, but I'd love it if it could.
I know it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, as we almost feel like this, our entire generation is just repeating. Kids are just into whatever's trending on phones right now, from Angry Birds to, you know, just silly, cheap looking stuff. You just kind of feel like, what I mean, I get that as kids, you not everything's going to be action oriented that get your attention from Disney stuff. You know, a lot of good quality cartoons and things like that. But in terms of like action and adventure stuff, you kind of feel like, well, what the hell do they watch them at all? And if they do, you're like, how does this look cool? You know, I like to think that, you know, that we have not outgrown cartoons in general. You know, we still go back and watch the classic stuff all the time. I mean, my dad still likes to watch Looney Tunes. You like to go back and revisit what you grew up on. But I like to think that we, as this generation, since we were introduced to the epitome of children's programming, in my opinion, I think most people wouldn't argue that one, that we could still point out quality entertainment in kids' programming today. And I mean, I'm sure some people think a lot of them are cute, but I'm not after cute. I'm after, like, you know what? I can see why little boys would be like really into this stuff. You know, why like this action adventure show is really resonating with today's kids. You know, but you know, if there is, I don't know anything about it. But then again, too, I'm not really digging. But you kind of like to think that if it's a big hit, it's unavoidable. Like you're aware that kids are into this stuff. Much like, you know, I feel like I'm dating myself by saying Angry Birds because I don't think this is popular anymore. But
Well, I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, you know, I think Ben 10 was popular with kids, but they want to look at them like, it just looks kind of silly and goofy. It's like I didn't want to be like a young boy in a cartoon. I wanted to be the big muscle guy. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't, you know. They always say, well, they'll understand and sympathize with if the protagonist is a young boy. I'm like, no, I'm going to be the big muscle guy. I don't relate to the boy who's been given. Oh man, now the little boy gets to run around with the Ninja Turtles. Like, oh, I can relate to him. Like, no, I want to be Leonardo. I don't want to be the boy that's running around with the turtles. You know, that whole idea, I've never understood that, and I almost feel like that's what they do that with a lot of kids programming today.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely just got into whoever really caught my attention. Of course, with He-Man, yes, you wanted to be like He-Man, but in the cartoon, it's like, God, I'm into creatures, giants, things that have two heads. I mean, it just, if something was just cool and caught your attention, that's what caught my, I mean, well, that's what got me into it. You know, Masters is so different to where, you know, I guess that's how we'll sneak into the next topic, but, you know, people always want to compare He-Man and Conan as being the same, where I always say, no, they're nowhere similar. I know what you guys are trying to get at when you're talking about the whole coming from a barbaric tribe, but there's definitely a lot of things that separate it with the technology. And I'm not going to say magic to a degree because there is forms of magic as we know in Conan, but the technology is definitely something that separates it to where you're not seeing laser-based vehicles in Conan the Barbarian. You know, you're not seeing those kind of flying vehicles. You're not seeing the stuff you'd see in Masters, which brings me to, you know, like, what do you think was, I wouldn't want to say more important or maybe what you favor, but in a way, how do you think technology and magic worked in Masters to where, I guess maybe in a way, what did you prefer? Did you prefer more of one, less of another? Did you think there was a good equal balance? I mean, what was your thoughts on magic and technology in Masters?
I mean, I often felt there was an equal balance throughout most of the canons, but I often felt like to keep it where I wanted it to be, the sorcery and the magic needed to be more important. You know, the technology was there to help carry the story along, but the story is about, you know, the magic throughout the story. I mean, for the most part, Skeletor is after an artifact, a magical artifact, or they're trying to stop him from breaking into Grayskull, which is the ultimate source of magic and power. But they're using technology to help accomplish these goals, but they're all after magic. And I mean, of course, with it being so magic-based, there's a lot of Conan-inspired stuff. And that I mean, the technology helps keeps it, you know, it's its own, getting tongue-tied here, separate entity, that it's like Conan, but you've got technology and all this other stuff, which makes it, you know, very special and very unique, which I often feel like is probably what's plaguing Hollywood, why the hell they can't get to figure out, why are there some guys running around in spaceships with loincloths? It makes no sense. You know, it's like, well, that's the whole point. It's a unique property. It's a great, awesome combination. It's chocolate and peanut butter. It's peanut butter and jelly. It's chocolate and vanilla. You know, it works very well together. You know, it's not as complicated as you make it out. But to me, I think the magic is the more important part, because that's some of the most favorite. Or that tends to be the big representation of the things that I enjoy throughout the show, with Skeletor, He-Man's transformation sequence. You know, a lot of the characters are fantasy based. You know, like Clawful, Jitsu, Fisto, Stratos, Buzz-Off, but you get characters like Mekaneck, Extendar, Trapjaw, you know, that are more technological based, but there's still a lot of fantasy there. And to me, it's emphasis on the fantasy, and that's what worries me when you had that bonehead David Goyer emphasizing technology way too much with his, you know, artwork and production sketches and things like that. Okay, this guy clearly doesn't get the balance of sorcery and science in this. And
Exactly. You don't want to go in one direction way too much. You're right. There's got to be a perfect balance, because you're right.
The sorcery and the black magic and fantasy aspect is probably 70% of the property, and technology represents the rest of the 30%.
Because in the way he was almost starting to depict stuff when we first, I mean, from the get-go, the first thing we see is Teela in a battle suit. Then all these vehicles that are laid out in front of him on the table that look all these weird futuristic vehicles. It's like, you might be missing the point. It's like you said, technology, sure, it's there. We know it's a very important pivotal role in Masters of the Universe, but also so is magic. Like you said, the main thing, the source of power of Grayskull, like, you know, it's magic based to transform Adam into He-Man. What the sorceress uses, what even the early on, Tila slash goddess, whatever you want to call her, what she used, what Skeletor uses, Evelyn uses. I mean, magic is very, very important. Which that would have been frightening because you picture it if when the movie ain't gonna happen. But let's say the movie happened and they finally get to the power of the center of Grayskull to find the power, and it's some computer generated thing that they created as the power of Grayskull. It's like, oh god, I could just picture some nonsense like that. But I mean, yes, the technology and magic, it's got to be a pretty damn good balance. But as Mark Taylor was saying, he seen it as the evil side maybe were the ones that did more of the magic, and the heroic warriors had more of the technology stuff, where even though he said Tila might use magic and maybe He-Man didn't agree with that or how it was. So I liked hearing that. I liked his balance in the way that he's seen it.
Yeah, but I think with his take, which is a take that I really appreciate too, excuse me, is that the heroes still are, they look like heavily fantasy based characters, but they're using technology to get around, where Skeletor's constantly using magic. And I mean, you kind of feel like, well, I guess even at that time when the line's starting out, there's not a whole lot of like technology based vehicles for the Evil Warriors. It's pretty much just Panther, and that's it. I don't think.
Yeah, he even said that. I think he said that there were no vehicles really early on based for the Evil Warriors. It was all for the heroic warriors. And hell, I mean, you think about even more with the science and technology. You think of the battle ram. That thing was used to transport through space and time. And go from one spot to another. It's like, that's kind of crazy thoughts, and that's definitely something you wouldn't see in your typical fantasy barbaric story.
Yeah, and like a Point Dread. Being this, and that's why I still like the idea of Point Dread being its own separate base out away from Grayskull. Like how the box art depicts it. I think it was that Rudy Obrero that did the box art for that, or was that William George?
For which one?
For the Point Dread, Point Dread and the Talon Fighter.
I think that was. Oh god, I thought it was William George, but now. Oh god, somebody saved me in the chat room. I don't know if it was Rudy Obrero. I didn't think Rudy Obrero did the Point Dread.
I think it was William George, but just that depiction of the Point Dread is off on its own. It's a very once you get it, it's like a major advantage in a fight or something like that, where you got Skeletor, Triceratops, and Merman charging. Man-at-Arms is going to hold them off, so He-Man and Attila can make the getaway in the Talon Fighter, or like in the book, where if you get to the Talon Fighter, it's going to give you a major advantage to stop Skeletor in time. I just like this idea that it's this hidden base. If you get a hold of it, I mean, you're probably going to win the fight just because you managed to get a hold of Point Dread and the Talon Fighter. Like, it's just this, that's why I had Axel do that one drawing. I absolutely love putting the Talon Fighter on top of this mountain high up in the clouds. And you got to climb the mountain to get to it. Then you can fly away in it really fast. But you got to climb, you got to get there. But where the hell was I going with this?
That's great. We get our Leslie Nielsen Naked Gun maybe once every other week, where he's like, "And where the hell was I?" I love it.
Yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that, but yeah, it definitely needs to be. I think it's a balance, but technology I think needs to be a slightly bigger edge in He-Man. I think to keep it He-Man. I mean, looking at everybody behind you on your shelf there, I mean, most of them are fantasy-based looking characters. You've got the Horror Troopers, you've got Dragstore. I mean, I'm looking at, Clan Champ has got some technology-based equipment as well. But when you look at the Snake Man, Clawful, Buzzoff, Fisto, the Snake Men, all those guys are heavily fantasy-based characters, and that's where I think it needs to be more fantasy-based. With them using technology and things like that, and hell, even doing it the way Mark intended it to, which God Almighty, I can't wait to see those stories.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
But it's magic needs to be a major prominent part in He-Man, and to me, it's the most important part of the two.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want them to just try to dazzle us with special effects of only just vehicles and just special powered up suits and laser beams and blasts, which unfortunately, yes, in a lot of movies nowadays, people love that, love the crazy explosions, but you can make some cool ass fights and special effects with magic just as easy. So you're right, just a good balance, but don't go all in one direction of just the technology, because you're missing the point of what makes this property unique and special. And also,
most perfect blend of this is Stridor and Night Stalker, like a horse, which is you see heroes riding around on horses, but to have a robotic horse, I mean, like that's what you should look at. If you're thinking about He-Man, look at Strider or Nightstalker, robotic horses that heroes ride into battle. Heroes and villains.
Exactly. Oh, and I also want to say Zen Brown joined us in the chat room a little bit late, so thank you for joining us. And Jordell Fresh Freeze joined us as well. And he said, yeah, the technology sets it apart from other fantasy ideas. And Zen Brown says, see, he says, that's why I feel a Masters of the Universe movie would be more like Warcraft than Lord of the Rings. But yeah, see, a lot of people do always want to compare, like, well, if they make Masters, it can be like Lord of the Rings. Like, it can and it can't though, because you got to have the technology. Lord of the Rings does not. I'm telling you, it's a perfect mix. Just don't go too far in either direction.
Yeah, but I almost felt like even if you went a little bit more fantasy based, but you maintain that technology, where you've got Man at Arms creating all kinds of various weapons, and he's got technology inside his lab and things like that. I feel like technology could be used sparingly to help tell the story, but everything is still pretty heavily magic based. I mean, you'd see characters riding around the Wind Raider and things like that, so to speak, but not. Hell, even Snake Mountain. It's like now when it comes to like the Horde, you're definitely going to be embedded in more technology than anything else.
But, I'll admit, in a movie though, if it was to ever happen and we seen Hordak, I think myself, I would want the Hordak from NYP, that just evil-looking, magical, wizard-looking war. Damn, he looks so imposing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Hordak from Filmation and all the stuff that he's done, the science and magic and transforming into tons of things, but something was so memorable about that wicked-ass Hordak in NYP, even though we only got that little bit. But it was enough to make me think, wow, that was pretty imposing.
Oh, no, it was. And I mean, obviously, even at that time, too, that's a Horde that's been dabbling in technology, too, with his legion of Horde troopers and things like that. But also looked like he was a Horde that was still practicing black magic and sorcery as well. Because that just looks so much more badass. I mean, that ridiculous nonsense that having Horde look like something out of the Matrix in those DC comics. That goofy ass thing, man. Like, yes, we know Horde really pushes the idea and the use of technology a lot more, but that's just absolutely goofy as hell.
Yeah, I guess different strokes for different folks, they say, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I just thought it was too much. It just didn't belong. I know they were trying to do something different with it, but this is too much.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely different. But well, I was gonna say, but we're not gonna wrap it up right yet. But now it's part of the show. If you guys in the chat room had any questions for us whatsoever about the cartoons, comics, movies, whatever figures, you can throw them up here, and we'll get to some of your questions before we wrap it up. But yeah, because Zen Brown said the Matrix. I think yeah, we were referring to what a lot of the way he looked, the tubings, or what was it about Hordak that gave you a Matrix feel from that DC stuff?
Just all the wirings and things like that. It made me think of like those and I don't know the Matrix as well, but like when Neo it comes out of his kind of cocoon thing, and you got those machines with those tentacles running around. I don't even remember what they were called because I've only seen the movie like a handful of times. But just it had kind of a Matrix feel to it, with all the tentacles and things like that, and he's got all these wires hooked up to him. It just looked too Matrix-like, and I just feel like that's something that just doesn't belong in He-Man. They're sorcery-based characters that use technology. They're not technology-based characters, and it just was too silly for me. I'm sure a lot of people thought it was a great design. Me personally, I thought it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, like I said, some might have liked it. All right, well, yeah, Grimbot, I don't know if I upset him. He said, he said, Filmation Hordak felt more real. He said, can you picture NYP Hordak slouching in a chair, tired of crap She-Ra gives him, having such a simple human moment? No, you're right. I couldn't picture NYP Hordak doing that. Definitely.
I wouldn't picture him being portrayed in any fashion.
No, it's a definite damn charm and memorable Hordak in Filmation. Yeah, the way he would get his utter disgust and just the way he sat there, and the same thing, disappointed in Mantenna or somebody else. I completely see where you're coming from. But okay, well, Zentron said Snake Mountain. He said classic or NYP. Which did you prefer? I got to go with Filmation. I always loved the Filmation Snake Mountain. The NYP one, I don't know. It didn't feel alive to me. Like there's the way that Again, it could have been shown. Maybe it just wasn't memorable for me. But like in Filmation, the way they would pan in different angles and going up Snake Mountain, it felt so damn alive and detailed. Whereas the NYP Snake Mountain just felt flat. I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but it just felt yeah.
I felt both Grayskull and Snake Mountain both were very flat looking in their design and how they were shot in NYP. I felt like with Filmation, they, like you said, there were so many great panning shots of Snake Mountain. They did it more with Snake Mountain because they would start. A lot of times you would go through like the select mites or tights. I forget what they're called, in the fog, panning over to see like the sparkles on the blood falls, or you start at the bottom and then pan up to see the mouth of the snake with lightning.
Alive. It felt damn alive. You know, it did.
So many ways of just showcasing just how epic and massive this location was, and with Grayskull too. I mean, even the title cards from various shots of Grayskull, where you see like
I loved it. Castle Grayskull to me seemed like in Filmation had so many damn different angles, and some of them were so creepy looking. Like you said, whether it was the title card or a shot where it just came from, for whatever reason, another angle or a real good close up, I was like, wow, it looks so wicked from the side, or like, you know what I mean? And compared to just that front shot that we know we've seen it to death, but something about those side shots and with the extra dark shadowing and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Damn, that was epic.
I mean, look, I don't want to always come off as like I'm the guy on this podcast that's always slamming NYP. NYP did a lot of good things, but it's just one of those things that just makes the show as a whole quite lackluster. You know, it just felt like when they would fade to shots of Snake Mountain, you'd see like a wide shot and lava's coming out of the mouth. I mean, that's a cool idea, but in terms of excitement, it just kind of felt like, man, it feels very flatline. It just kind of muted in excitement and wonder when you're looking at this. I mean, it's not bad looking, but in comparison, I mean, there was a lot more. The Filmation stuff had a much more of an edge to it. You know, with most people saying, "Oh, Filmation was so goofy and kiddie and cheesy," then you're missing the point. You people are not watching this very closely at all. You know, when they open up scenes with lightning cracking and thunder and things like that, and you got fog, the blood falls, all that stuff, and with Grayskull from daytime with how it looks with the green, and then at night everything looks purple. I mean, it just was like these guys were really paying close attention to making all the locations look like, you know what, this may be a children's cartoon, but this it has a very mature look to it.
Yeah, and almost everybody in the chat room was saying the same thing. They agreed that it seemed very flat, just flat for the look of Snake Mountain, Castle Grayskull. Unfortunately,
lazy in a lot of ways. You know, even though the redesigns of like Too Bad and Count Marzo and Cyclone and stuff like that all looked great. And even
that's some great stuff.
Yeah. But so it's not to say everything was done poorly or they weren't trying their best, because they did do a good job on a lot of stuff, and there were some good stories and some good ideas. But I mean, that's just why, to me, when I think of NYP, I don't get excited a whole lot initially. And we dig a little deeper, I have a lot to get excited about when we get very specific. But overall, it's just one of the reasons why I don't go back and revisit NYP that much. You know, Filmation I'll revisit all the time. I mean, I bought episodes off iTunes so I can listen to them in my car while I'm in the you know, I bought a couple of few NYP ones, but for the most part, it's all Filmation. I almost feel like I've got like an entire library of Filmation episodes that I bought off iTunes, and just so I can listen to while I'm driving or at the gym. And I've got them on DVD and on VHS. So it's a testament to how much those guys really put into their work, and why Filmation, it makes James Eatock and our buddy Deucin do what they do, because it was the best of the best.
Yep, no, definitely. I mean, best of the best, memorable, iconic, to where they're doing stuff now, to where they're constantly sharing it. That's, I don't get me wrong, I loved NYP. There's, like you said, some things with some of the backgrounds, other stuff I wasn't really a fan of, but a lot of the redesigns of the characters and the story and the continuity, which some people love, you had that. Like I said, for me, I've always been somebody, I don't mind continuity in some degree, to where it could be a story arc, but where I feel like does every single episode have to connect? It's like, okay, then if you didn't see this episode, then you're confused on this episode. Whereas in Filmation, it was a new adventure every week, almost just like when you get a comic book and it's a new story. Sometimes with, like, the House of Shikoti, part 1 and 2. I mean, and plus maybe they would acknowledge something here or there, but continuity, I guess, can work to a level, and there's nothing wrong with it. I like it sometimes, but I don't like it constantly shoved in my face to where I have to know every single thing that's going on to connect every episode. In arcs, it works. I like it. And for people who love a complete continuity, cool. I mean, that's good, but I don't know. I've never been a fan of just constant
Well,
continuity.
I mean, I can appreciate continuity to a certain extent, but I mean to me that's why I don't read comic books today, because everything is massive story arcs instead of just telling individual stories. I mean, I miss the simple days of Spider-Man stopping, Juggernaut and Omega Red are teaming up and they're breaking into a bank, and it's just Spider-Man left up to his own. Oh, and then Captain America shows up completely random, and then that's the end of the story. There is no 3, 4, 6 issue story arc that spans over a year and then release it in trade paperback form to get more money out of people. With He-Man, you know, I would much prefer individual stories with a brief story arc here and there, 1 or 2 episodes. But with continuity, don't feel like people have to see other episodes. Just you can make reference to something that happened, but it has nothing to do with what's currently going on. Like if they were telling a story of the latest Cobra Khan episode, and they reference like, well, the last time, when him and Webster almost broke into, installed the Grimalkin, like they're just making reference to that in continuity, but it doesn't affect the story you're trying to tell.
Right. That's what I mean. Little things to where it can be said to state of something that happened.
I would rather have what you're saying, a bunch of individual stories that you can kind of throw little nods to, but don't make people feel like, the story's just constantly weaving with it.
Exactly, because that just
not everything.
It's too much. You're right. That is way too much. When you have too much, it's like I don't know what's going on. I have to go back and read 20 issues to lead up to where the hell I'm at now. But you're right. Little tastes and little bits of something that happened or an item or an artifact makes sense. And also, JSP jumped in, and I knew there was a reason I didn't know this. He said he just read an article where it states that the Point Dread box artist is unknown, but they tried to look like Obrero's work. I knew that when you asked me, I was like, I can't remember.
Well, that's why I wasn't sure, because I'm like, it doesn't look specific like Rudy.
I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No wonder why we were stumped. I knew it was something. Like I said, I'm not here to claim I know every single box art and artist and everything, but I try to know as many as possible. When that question came up, I was stumped because I remembered I did not know, and I guess that explains it. It's because nobody knew who the hell the artist was. It looks close, but I guess it's different. So thanks, JSP.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
But all right, well, guys, that's been our episode so far this week. So I'm going to pass it to Tyler, do his maybe closing thoughts of things that he has. But let me just say what I always said. Thank you to every single person in the chat room for joining us. We love having you here. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and of course, hope you're here next week as well. But I'm going to pass it over to Tyler if you have some closing stuff you wanted to say.
I just want to thank everybody each and every week for taking time to listen to us, whether this is you listening to this 24 hours from now or 24 weeks from now or even 24 months from now. I want to thank you for taking time to listen to us while you're at work or driving home or at home cleaning or whatever it is that you may decide you want to listen to us or watch us. I appreciate you taking time that, you know what, I'd like to listen to these guys during this 2-hour span or hour and a half. We appreciate that you decide to devote any of your time to listen to what we have to say and help keep He-Man alive, to treat it with respect and dignity, and not making some goofy ass joke in a Geico commercial or some nonsense like that. I can't emphasize enough. I like humor, but there's a time and a place for humor. And He-Man and humor, I don't want to see them together.
All right, there you go. And of course, if you guys ever had suggestions of topics you think you want us to talk about, anything, you can always just let us know. Message us here on Facebook or wherever. You can let us know, and we can try to definitely touch on anything you want us to. But wait a second. Zentron just posted a little too soon. He said his movie quote. He said, "Just going for one of those unmotivated butt in the moonbeam walks." I know what that is. I'll first pass it to Tyler.
Loaded weapon.
There you go. Yep, exactly. I remember when he did that. That was Charlie. 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 Did I just say no? Emilio Estevez. Emilio Estevez. damn, confusing the brothers there. Yeah, he did that stupid thing. So good job. But well, I guess I'm gonna find out Tyler's here in a second, and I'll fail. But let me say what I always say. Go to fansofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to hemanworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe He-Man and She-Ra Ultimate Fan Group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful day.
I'm familiar with the fact that I think you're going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you in the ass.
You know, I would assume just from what you said that it's a Jaws quote, but I wouldn't even know. I don't want to punk out and say Jaws because I wouldn't even know where it was. But I'm gonna.
The fact that you just humiliated yourself by sitting there and saying, I think it's a Jaws quote, but I don't want to sit there and say Jaws when it is not only a Jaws quote, but it's from Jaws.
Well, the thing is, it's just the only thing I could think of biting an ass would be Jaws. But the thing is, I was like, I don't know what part of the movie. I don't remember it, but it sounds like it's a Jaws thing.
Say that you watch movies and that you grew up on movies and you're a kid of the 80s, and yet all I do is reference movies of the 80s, and you're like, I don't know anything. Is that a Super Mario quote? Is that a quote from Legend of Zelda? Is that a quote from Burger Time?
I can only get something absolutely just out of the world, just that you never expect. Like when I got that one from Superman 3, and Tyler's like, how the hell could you get something from Superman 3 like that, and you fail on a Friday the 13th 3?
God, man, I think you got RoboCop one time.
One time. I've gotten a few here and there, but just, boy, when it comes to majority, it's like, phew, right over my head. But all right, guys, well, thank you for joining us. See you guys next week.
Later.